I said something about Trump and, making up all the, pros and cons and how I thought he was, doing really well compared to how we thought he was. And that's whenever Thomas, he was like, well, aren't you Hispanic? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, and you like Trump? I go, yeah. And he goes, well, that's a little stupid, isn't it?
From that interaction that you described, it would seem like he didn't like Donald Trump, that he leaned maybe more Democratic?
And that's what you think. He was not one for a certain politician, as far as I know. As far as I know, he hated all politicians. He hated, I wouldn't say the government per se, but he definitely did not like our politicians and our pool of choice when it comes to our politicians.
Mere minutes after the suspect was named in the tragic event that took place at the Donald Trump rally on Saturday, people were already hard at work trying to expose and uncover Thomas Matthew Crooks' political beliefs. Now, as of right now, law enforcement has successfully gotten into his phone, but they say they still have no motive and they don't have much information on the guy at all. Now, of course, people have been trying to claim that Thomas is a Donald Trump supporter, that he is MAGA. Now, I'm sure that his family, his parents are Trump supporters, but I have a hard time believing that Thomas is himself. I mean, look at what he did. You want me to believe that Thomas is so hardcore MAGA that he decided that he's going to go try to take out Donald Trump and his supporters? That just doesn't make sense. But they want it to make sense, and they know that people hate Trump enough that they will believe that narrative because of TDS, but I have a hard time believing that. But it is a possibility. I was thinking maybe this is like a John Lennon Selena situation where someone is such a big fan that they want to take their idol out so they can be forever tied to that person. Now, I don't know if that's the case. I don't know what the case is. What I do know is there's a lot of people online spreading information that they don't know what they're talking about. So I'm trying to listen to people who know Thomas. And there's this one guy from Thomas's school that says that Thomas didn't like Trump at all, that Thomas didn't really like politicians. Let's go ahead and listen to what he has to say.
Thomas was a quiet kid unless there was something that he was passionate about, politics being one of them. He just did not like politicians, especially with the choices that we've had. He did not like our politicians. It was especially during 2016. It was Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, all of them. He showed that he disliked all of them. Did not like any of them. So I brought up the fact that I'm Hispanic and, I'm for Trump. And he said, well, you're Hispanic, so shouldn't you hate Trump? And I was like, no, he's great. He's a great president. And he called me stupid, or insinuated that as if he's like, well, that's kind of stupid. If he was a know-it-all. So once again, if he was passionate about something, he would just talk, and acted like he knew everything, especially politics related. And he would say it in a tone that was like, I'm better than you, in a type of way. And, meanwhile, it's like, dude, we're in the same classes. You know what I mean? We're talking about the same stuff here, and whenever it comes to politics, at the end of the day, I can agree, you can disagree, I can disagree. We're not even nothing about it. At that point, it doesn't matter. At that point, it's, we're just starting to figure out who we like and all. But yeah, he was real smug and arrogant whenever he was talking, and whether that was his way to try to make friends or be funny, I don't know. But it got under my skin a lot. So his friend group, they were known for being, like I said, just out there, a little bit more recluse. Some of them didn't even show up to school. Some of them went homeschool. Some of them, I think one of them went to a private school. They were definitely the type, and they did make threats to shoot up our school. And that year, I believe it was our freshman year, because I had left our freshman year. Before I had left, everyone going through Snapchat, everybody's texting, everybody, saying this, that, and the third. Everybody was saying it was Thomas who made a threat, and it was that friend group. Everyone was mainly blaming the friend group, but a name that kept coming up was Thomas. And he never did anything, you know what I mean? He left school for a couple of days. It wasn't anything like a suspension or anything. It was just a couple of days, you know. He was not severely bullied. Almost nobody knew him. So, you know, for somebody who got severely bullied, I mean, I'm not going to name names, but I could name you a few students that were severely bullied, and I remember their names. He's not one of them. The signs were there, and somebody definitely had to know. Somebody, whether he was talking to somebody, or somebody either just didn't realize and just overlooked it, somebody should have known, because he was not a loner. And both of his parents being counselors, how do you not see that warning sign or something? Anybody who knew him should have seen something, should have known something was up. And I know it's kind of easy to hide, but people are going to get their affairs in order before they do something this bold and this drastic, and nobody saw it.
It's funny to me because people are acting as if, oh, just because his parents support one guy, the kid must support him as well. And that's just not the case when you look around America. There are plenty of young kids who despise their parents because of their political beliefs. There's plenty of young kids who are getting indoctrinated and brainwashed in school. There are plenty of young kids on TikTok every day who view their own family that loves them as the enemy because they vote for Donald Trump. And I say that not as a hardcore Donald Trump supporter. I say that as someone who observes. I observe how people act on the internet, and we've seen how crazy they've been for the last 8 years, and obviously things are getting crazier. But as of right now, personally, Thomas Matthew Crooks' political beliefs don't mean much to me. What matters to me most is why he was allowed to do this. And I say allowed for a reason, because he was watched, people were warned, they knew that something was going on, and it still went down. So that's what I'm focused on. I know they want us to focus on his political beliefs. They want us to argue over who this guy maybe voted for, if he was even old enough to vote in the last election. They want us to argue over that stuff so we don't look at the obvious flaws in this story, so we don't look at the obvious failures of law enforcement. So I think that's where the conversation, that everyone should be having. I think that's where we should focus our attention, on the failure of law enforcement and how Thomas Matthew Crooks was allowed to do this despite being watched the entire time. But for now, let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.